We also have 2 other awards involving the media, and since I know he'll explain them, I won't explain them myself. So may I invite our long-serving media chairman and enthusiastic participant, Robert Hunter, to the podium. Thank you.
Thank you. We are also involved this year in what I call the Diogenes Project, looking for honest people, people who deal with true news rather than fake news. I don't know what true news was. I thought it was just news. And the same in all of our various professions, going to the heart of the truth about what's going on. And in terms of the media people, I think we've done a pretty good job, and I think and I thank my committee for doing that. And I'm going to start off with the individual who is present. And Jonathan, maybe if you want to just come up here and stand here, because so people can have a chance to see who you are. And let me read the citation. Incidentally, I should say that he's also now become a movie star, or rather behind the movie. It's a film called that you will soon see at your local emporium of the movie arts. The film is called Shock and Awe. I think that's a catchy phrase, but catchy phrase, not his phrase, and one to be abjured. Okay, the citation about Jonathan. Been there, done that. The simple statement of the best foreign correspondents, and for more than 3 decades, there has been none better than Jonathan Landay, wherever knowledge, accuracy, analysis are needed. Tiananmen Square, former Yugoslav conflicts, U.S. post-9/11 intervention in Afghanistan and invasion of Iraq, Syrian civil war, ISIS insurgency in Syria and Iraq. God, where did you find time to get a decent meal? Embedding with U.S. and Afghan forces, he cast the sharp light of truth on false justifications for Iraq 2003. Wherever he goes, on whatever he focuses, Jonathan Landay separates fact from fiction. Defense, intelligence, terrorism, nuclear weapons and arms control, Europe, South Asia, the Middle East. He has enriched UPI, the Christian Science Monitor, Knight Ridder, and now Reuters as national security correspondent. He is truly master of all trades, personally and morally courageous, providing insight and understanding to all he surveys. And that is not fake news, Mr. Landay. So, congratulations. And somewhere here, I've got something for you. There you go. Not just this, but enough to get a cup of coffee is contained here. Thank you. Podium is yours, please.
So the few of you know I'm a journalist, and the some of you who know me know that I'm not known for my diplomacy. And in that regard, I want to make it clear that my remarks are my own and should not be associated with Reuters in any way. Secondly, I want to express my sincerest thanks to the Academy, its President Ron Newman, who I've known since he served as ambassador to Afghanistan, the Media Awards Committee and its chairman, Robert Hunter, who I've known even longer, and Sylvia Poggioli of NPR, who nominated me for this award, and who I got to know while we were covering the collapse of former Yugoslavia and the war in Bosnia. I am truly honored. Thank you very much. After Bob called me to tell me that I'd been selected as a recipient of this year's reporting award, I thought about having a T-shirt made for this lunch emblazoned with the words, "Enemy of the American People." But then I figured that neither my bosses nor diplomatic security would appreciate that. I also thought about having a T-shirt made for all of you declaring the wearer as a, quote, a pinstripe-wearing, tea-sipping elitist compromiser, unquote, but then decided that that would be too long to print, and I couldn't afford to have all those T-shirts made anyway, which brings me to this point. Both our institutions, have played critical roles since the founding of our republic in ensuring its citizens enjoy the freedoms, rights, and security endowed by the Constitution. But today, both our institutions, and possibly even our democracy and our national security, are under assault as never before. This Department of State, originally called the Department of Foreign Affairs, was the first U.S. government agency created under the Constitution, charged with advising the President and overseeing the conduct of foreign affairs. As you well know, the department is facing a massive budget cut, the loss of seasoned diplomats, and vacancies in high-level positions that deal with many of the world's growing crises. More than that, the President of the United States has declared that he's the only one that matters when it comes to setting U.S. foreign policy, and he has publicly put his own Secretary of State's job under a cloud. But never mind, I guess none of that matters, because we are now told that all of those crises, from North Korea to the Middle East, are going to be settled in the next 3 years. That Constitution under which this department was created also guarantees the freedom of the press. That freedom is a critical ingredient for ensuring the quality of our democratic system by imposing checks and balances on our government and by holding public officials accountable for those actions, for their actions. But in performing that role, responsible news outlets are now being delegitimatized and the lives of their personnel put in jeopardy by bogus charges from the highest levels of this government that they produce fake news, that they shouldn't be trusted, that they are unpatriotic, i.e. traitors. Never mind that every day American reporters risk their lives to cover Iraq, Syria, and other war zones. And those risks are growing here at home, where we now have organizations that seek to discredit responsible news organizations by effectively committing fraud and trying to foist counterfeit news on them through the use of imposters. I would also be remiss not to mention the bravery of U.S. diplomats, some of whom I know, who also put their lives on the line every day to advance U.S. interests overseas. The assault on myself and the integrity of myself and my colleagues in the news media is unprecedented, and it follows the financial devastation of the print media wrought largely by the internet and the massive loss of advertising revenues that began in the middle of the last decade. Newsrooms have lost 40 to 50% of their staff, and many newspapers no longer exist. And the advent of online news outlets have not made up for that devastation. As a quick example, I would point to Afghanistan. I don't believe there has ever been a contemporary foreign conflict involving thousands of American personnel that has been so thinly covered by the U.S. media. As far as I can tell, only 3 American media companies now have bureaus, full-time bureaus, in Kabul. What is at stake in all of this is the very quality of our democracy and values and the future of our country. As the first Secretary of State and Founding Father Thomas Jefferson said, quote, "Our liberty depends on the freedom of the press, and that cannot be limited without being lost," unquote. So I'd like to see this award that I've just received as more than just recognition of my own contributions to American journalism and the coverage of U.S. foreign policy. I see it as an affirmation of the collective contributions of responsible U.S. media to the security and well-being of our democracy from members of another institution that is also under assault, but also plays a vital role in doing the same. Thank you very much.